This is Tom and Paula Graves from Light of Christ Radio with a story about the refining journey of Joseph.
You are welcome to watch this video simply for the story, or you can use this as the basis for a small group study.
Instructions for the small group study can be found below in the Show More section.
Today, we have our final story from Genesis 50 in our series called Joseph's Refining Journey.
Well, Paula, to set the context of our story, God has taken Joseph on a refining journey. The Lord gave Joseph dreams, but the jealous brothers sold him into slavery.
Then, after false accusations, Joseph is forgotten about in prison. Finally, Pharaoh has a dream no one except Joseph could interpret, and as a result, Joseph is promoted to second in command in Egypt.
And Joseph is in charge of grain during a famine, and his brothers come to buy grain. After testing the brothers, Joseph reveals who he is.
And he invites his family to come and live out the famine in Egypt, so the whole family moves.
Joseph's father, Jacob, is overjoyed that Joseph is alive and lives another 17 years in Egypt.
So at the end of his life, Jacob blesses each of his sons, which brings us to a story from the Word of God.
When Jacob had finished blessing his sons, he breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death.
Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him, and then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days.
When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. My father desired to be buried back in Canaan, so please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay."
So Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph's sons did as he commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site.
After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful.
"Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him," they said. So they sent this message to Joseph. "Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, 'Please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin.'"
When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph.
"Look, we are your slaves," they said.
But Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid of me. Am I God, that I can punish you? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children." So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them.
And this is a story from the Word of God.
If you are using this video for a small group application, after watching this video, try retelling the story from what you heard.
Then read the text. Discussion questions are below in the Show More section.
May this story help you on your journey of life.
Be blessed.